Welcome to Friday Fuel for March 31st, 2023. Come on over at 10 o'clock Sunday morning for coffee talk, and come back at 5:30 Sunday night for Sunday supper, followed by a project to brighten someone's day. Take home a gift for yourself and for someone else. Worship on Wednesday at 8:30 will happen as usual, and don't forget that on Thursday night this coming week, we have Perplex a Pastor in the Effingham room of the Union from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. It is Holy Week, and you can find Holy Week services at Wesley United Methodist Church by visiting their website at charlestonwesley.org. And now, here's some fuel for your Friday. So this coming weekend is the beginning of Holy Week, and Sunday is what we often call Palm Sunday. So I wanted to share with you today from Luke 19, verses 29 through 40. As Jesus came to Bethphage and Bethany on the Mount of Olives, he gave 2 disciples a task. He said, "Go into the village over there. When you enter it, you will find tied up there a colt that no one has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If someone asks, 'Why are you untying it?' just say, 'Its master needs it.'" Those who had been sent found it exactly as he had said. As they were untying the colt, its owner said to them, "Why are you untying the colt?" They replied, "Its master needs it." They brought it to Jesus, threw their clothes on the colt, and lifted Jesus onto it. As Jesus rode along, they spread their clothes on the road. As Jesus approached the road leading down from the Mount of Olives, the whole throng of his disciples began rejoicing. They praised God with a loud voice because of all the mighty things they had seen. They said, "Blessings on the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest heavens." Some of the Pharisees from the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, scold your disciples. Tell them to stop." He answered, "I tell you, if they were silent, the stones would shout." Now, you may notice, we call this Palm Sunday, but in Luke's version of the story, there aren't palm branches being waved. There are in some of the other Gospels, though. So, we hear this story, and on Palm Sunday, we often celebrate because the crowd got excited when Jesus came into town riding on a donkey, or a colt, it says. And, we like to have reasons to celebrate just like they did. In fact, in that day and time, parades, usually military parades, were very common. And so the people might have been used to having, the war hero ride through the main gate of the city, and there would have been all this pomp and circumstance, and men in armor, and this, victor riding on a horse. And that would be exciting because it was meant to pump up the crowd and say, "Look how great the empire is." And yet when Jesus enters Jerusalem, we get the sense it's not from the main gate. In fact, a lot of scholars think that there even could have been 2 parades that day, that there could have been a parade of a military hero. But Jesus's parade was much different. He's entering from a side gate, and he's coming down a steep road, a rocky road. And so it's different. And yet still, his followers line up, and they place their cloaks on the ground, and they celebrate because they think this is the time that what they've been waiting for is going to happen. And so on Palm Sunday, we give the kids in the church palm branches, and they walk around the sanctuary waving their palm branches. And we remember that Jesus was praised as a king when he entered Jerusalem by most people. Of course, there were those who thought he should stop his followers from making this much of a ruckus because they just shouldn't be doing this. And I like that in Luke's version, Jesus points out, if they didn't, the rocks would shout out. These people, at least for today, know what they're talking about. In a few days' time, we know the story, and that they will turn. They will be distracted or led astray, or just going in a different direction, misunderstanding the situation. But for this moment, they know, and they are excited. And Jesus said, even if they weren't here, the rocks would cry out. Who he is going to be apparent to someone, whether it's the Pharisees or not. And so we celebrate this story and we get excited, but it also reminds us, as most of the time in churches these days, we call it Palm and Passion Sunday, and we read the Passion narrative as well. And we remember that we are headed into Holy Week, headed toward the cross. And it's important not to skip from Palm Sunday all the way over to Easter, because some important things happen in between. So, it's a good reminder that we have to reflect continually that this season of Lent is not over. There are reasons for us to continue thinking about how are we celebrating Christ's entrance into the world and into our lives on a regular basis, on a daily basis. And also, what are the ways that we are getting distracted from doing that? There are lots of different ways. School and lots of other things that distract us. Questions and doubts aren't bad in and of themselves, but sometimes they distract us from where Jesus really is showing up and present in our lives and in the world around us. And so as we go into Holy Week, I hope that you will take time to set aside all the things that keep you busy and observe this Holy Week. Continue in your Lenten reflection and self-examination, and work on realizing and honoring and celebrating where Jesus is showing up around you and through you and in your life on a daily basis and in the world as well. So that when we get to Easter, we can celebrate with joy, knowing we may not always get it right, and we may get distracted sometimes, but we will continue trying to follow this Jesus who we know is the King of all. Have a blessed Holy Week, and I'll see you back here next Friday on Good Friday.